Hello everyone, welcome back. The topic is emergency management and preliminary examination of a trauma patient. So now I've already covered about the lefort fracture. So I have covered about lefort 1, 2 and 3. So moving towards the management of it. So this is nothing but in brief about the emergency management of any trauma patient, irrespective whether it is maxillary, mandibular, zygomatic. So it is irrespective of it. And these are like a important points that you need to write in your exams before starting the exact like management of that particular fracture. So the patients with maxillofacial injuries, they may have any other bodily injuries and it may constitute an actual threat to the life or it be a higher priority than the facial trauma. So for example, if a patient comes with a trauma, so first you're going to see and first you're going to manage the emergency. If that patient is unable to even breathe, then there's no point of doing the management for your fractures. First you have to see the patient and you have to manage it for that emergency. So in this video I'm going to talk about that. So how if a patient comes, irrespective of what it is, irrespective of what fracture it is, first what you're going to do, first you're going to manage the emergency, and that I'm going to talk. So this is nothing but the management of the emergency. So the maxillofacial evaluation. So in this, the maxillofacial injuries, they are relatively common form of trauma, so it is essential to know primary care and definitive treatment. So there are severe injuries and it can lead to death on spot. So the death from the trauma, there has trimodial distribution and it follows this following pattern. So if there is death from trauma, so it can have this following patterns. So there are these two peaks. So the first peak of injury is within seconds or minutes of the incidence, and it is due to if the brain or the brain stem, high spinal cord, heart, or even great vessels, they are injured. So the patient, he can die on that spot itself. The second peak, it occurs within the few minutes to hours after the incident, and this time it is known as golden hour of trauma. So this is a critical time from the injury to the definite surgical treatment, and this is known as golden hour. And this is the time where you can actually save the patient's life. So if a patient is coming of trauma, so in this golden hour, so it is known as golden hour because this is the time when you actually can save the patient's life, and the death in this group can be preventable. So if you're giving the proper remedies or if you're doing the management, emergency management is done well, then you can actually save the patient's life, and this is known as golden hour. And you can even write this about this golden hour in your exams too. So the basic principles in the management of the patient with maxillofacial injuries. So first there is this examination of the patient with the maxillofacial injury. It takes place in three stages. So first is you're going to immediately assess and treat the life-threatening condition if that patient is unable to breathe. So first you're going to like see into that thing. So what you're going to do is you're going to treat that life-threatening condition. Then you're going to do the general clinical examination, and then you're going to do the local examination of the maxillofacial and the neck region. So this is the main steps if a patient of trauma is coming. The two basic principles in management of severely injured patients are: first is prompt evaluation and management of the life threatening emergency, and second is to save the life and restore the function. So the main principle, it should be to save the patient's life, and then you have to do the definitive treatment after you have done the examination, and after that you have evaluated which type of trauma it is, which type of fracture it is, and then you have to start with your definitive treatment. But before that you have to start with the emergency management. Now what is this emergency management? First you are doing this primary survey. So this primary survey, it is during the rapid primary survey, the life threatening conditions, they are recognized and they are treated without delay, and they are summarized as the ABCs. So now you know this ABCs, we have already studied about this ABCs in our general medicines. So the A, it stands for airway with cervical spine control, B is for breathing, C is for circulation, D is for disability or if there are any neurological status, E is for exposure and the complete examination of the patient. So if the patient is having any problem related to which can be life threatening, so first you are going to look into this ABCs of it. Now this ABCs, it is applicable in every patient who is having any trauma. But now what is the importance of this ABCs in a maxillofacial trauma? I'm going to tell that. But about this, I'm going to make a separate video, and it's going to be a very short video in which I'm going to talk about all these ABCs and what exactly you need to do in that if a patient is having some problems. In this, I'm going to talk about the assessment of the conscious level, which is given by this Glasgow Coma scale. And this is a very important SAQ that is very, very commonly asked as a SAQ. What is this Glasgow Coma scale? So this is an essential component of neurological examination. So we have seen there was this D, which was the neurological status. So you need to see what is the neurological status of the patient, how he is responding to something. So how severe the injury is, you can like detect it with this help of coma scale. So it is the systematic assessment of the unconscious patient by application of this coma scale, which provides a grading of coma by using a numerical scale, and it allows serial comparison and may provide the prognostic information. So it was described by Tisdale and Jennett in 1974. So this was given by Tisdale and Jennett in 1974. So what exactly this coma scale is? So it has these three variables, that is eye opening, verbal response, and the motor response. So you have to remember this eye. How is the response of the eye when you're like doing or when you're asking something to the patient? Then what the status of eye is? Then what is the verbal response of that patient, and what is the motor response? So these are the three things I need to remember. Now in this, how you can remember is for eye opening there are four scorings, for verbal there are five, and for motor there are six scorings. So how it is? Now the in first eye opening there is spontaneous. So if the patient he spontaneously opens his eye, so you're going to give this score for the eye opening as 4. Then the sound is if you ask the patient open your eyes and then he is opening the eyes, so it is eye opening because of the sound, so you are going to give the score as 3. Then to pressure, pressure is nothing but pain. So when you're applying pain or when you're applying or pressing some area of the patient, for example if you're pressing supraorbital notch, so if you're pressing that area and because of that the patient he feels pain, and because of that he's opening his eyes, and that is the score when you're going to give as 2. So 2 pressure is 2, and when the patient is not opening his eyes, so that is none, so that is the 1, and that is the worst thing. So this coma scale it helps how severe the injury is, how severely it has like attacked, or how severely the injury of head is. So first is this eye opening. The next is the verbal response. So first is oriented. Now in this, first, for example, if you're asking, where are you? So the patient, he says, I am in the hospital. So he's oriented to whatever the situation is. So in that case, you're going to give the score as 5. Now I have said eye opening, it has 4 scoring. Verbal, it has 5 scoring. Then the next scoring is confused. So for example, now if you're asking, where are you? So that patient is confused. He'll say, I don't know, or I am in the hotel, for example. Then that case is when you're going to give the score as 4. That patient, he is confused. Third is words. So there are this third word means there is inappropriate words. So he'll say anything randomly. He can say anything irrespective of what you're asking. He'll say anything, so that is inappropriate word. So if you're asking where are you, so he'll say anything like football or hotel. He'll say anything. He won't even like pay attention to what you are saying. So that is the verbal response, and you're going to give score as 3. Then sounds is incomprehensible sound. So in that, if you're asking where are you, so that patient he won't say anything, instead he'll make some sounds like ah, for example if it's paining, so he'll just say, or he'll just make some sounds, but he won't say anything, he won't say any words. So that is nothing but sounds, and you'll give the score for this verbal response as 2. The none is when there is no verbal response, so even though you're asking or telling anything, that patient is not going to give response, and that is as 1. The last one is the motor response. So in that, if you're asking a patient to stretch his leg or to stretch his arms or to protrude his tongue, so he'll obey that command. So that is 6. Then localizing is when he localizes the pain. For example, now if you're asking where exactly it is paining or where exactly, so he'll like move his arm or his leg wherever it is, and he's going to localize that area for you. The next is, so the scoring for that localization is 5. The next is the normal flexion. Then it also means withdraws. So there is normal flexion over here. Now you can see in this picture, so this is withdraw, that is the normal flexion. So it's going to normal flex his arm or legs, whatever it is, and that is nothing but 4. Then there is abnormal flexion. So there is abnormally, irrespective of what it is, the patient he's going to abnormally flex flex his arm or hands, and that is known as abnormal flexion, or it is also known as decorticate. So the scoring for it is 3. There is extension, so that is abnormal extension, which is also known as decerebrate. So the scoring for this is 2, and the last is none when he's not going to give any motor response, and that is 1. So this is all about the coma scale. Now this coma scale score has, so the injury is mild if the score is between 13 to 15. It is moderate if the scoring is 9 to 12. So whatever the score is for this eye, you're going to add all these 3 up, and then you're going to see the score. So if it is between 13 to 15, it is mild. If it is moderate, then it is 9 to 12, and it is severe if it is 3 to 8. So if the Glasgow coma scale it is 3 to 8, it means there is severe head injury, and it suggests coma with need for intubation. So it suggests the patient is in coma and the injury is so severe. So this is nothing but the Glasgow Coma scale, and it is very like commonly asked, so you should know about this. The next is the examination. So now we have seen this coma scale. So the next thing you're going to do is examination of the patient. So in that, you're going to examine the oral cavity, and then you're going to overall the extraoral cavity. So the oral cavity examination, it includes soft tissue examination, neurological examination, skeletal and dental examination. In soft tissue, you're going to see for any laceration, if there are any lacerations which are present in the oral cavity, or there is ecchymosis which is present. So now we have already seen in lefort. So there was this ecchymosis which is present in the greater palatine foramen, in the area of the greater palatine. So it's lefort 1. So with this examination, you can like, it becomes easy to like identify which type of trauma it is. So first you're going to see all the lacerations which are present on the soft tissue, then you're going to see for the ecchymosis, then you're going to see for the orifice of the salivary gland opening, like if there are any problems or if there are any foreign bodies and everything, then you're going to see the patency of this salivary flow. And the next thing, you're going to see the soft tissue swelling. Then these are all the soft tissue examination. The next one is the neurological examination. In neurological, you'll see the infraalveolar nerve and the lingual nerve. So this infraalveolar, this is frequently injured as a result of mandibular fracture. So if there is a mandibular fracture, this infraalveolar nerve, it is severely injured in that case. And this will be as like there will be lip anesthesia on that affected side. So this will help in detecting what exactly the trauma is. Then the lingual nerve is less commonly injured, but the injury to the lingual nerve, it results in anesthesia or paresthesia of the anterior two-thirds of the tongue. Now you know the substitution or the structures which are supplied by these following nerves. So if there is injury to this nerve, then it will lead to the paresthesia or anesthesia of that structure which it is supplying to. The next you are going to see is the skeletal examination. In that skeletal examination, it is commenced with the mandible. So if there are any lacerations of the chin which is present, so it may indicate there are the subcondylar fractures which is present. So like with this examination, you are like exactly knowing what the cause or what the trauma is. The next is you're going to see for the fractures. So if there are any fractures present, like extraorally or intraorally, if there are any fractures present, then you're going to see that. If there is fracture in the mid palatine raphe, so it will detect, or it will help you to like examine or to evaluate that it can be a lefort 1 or a lefort 2 or a lefort 3, whatever it is. So it can help you to detect which type of trauma it is. Then you're going to see for the swellings, pain, induration, and it may indicate there are any infections which is associated with the mandibular fractures. So then you're going to see for the mobility. The mobility, it's like if there is mobility of the teeth which is present. So it is like the trauma, it can be affected. So the trauma, it has affected the teeth also. Then you are going to see for the inability to open the mouth. So if there is inability to open the mouth, in that what you're going to see, if the patient is unable to open the mouth more than 35 mm, or if he is unable to deviate it more than 6 mm. So there is this problem which is related, or there is trismus which can be secondary to the mandibular fracture. The next can be if there are any bilateral subcondylar fractures if it's present, then it is characterized by this limited mouth opening. In that you're going to see all the skeletal examination, it constitutes of all this. The next is dental. So dental I have already said about the fractures, about the mobility, about the missing teeth. So already have covered about it like earlier only. So this is just examination of the oral cavity. So this examination of the oral cavity, it will help you to detect what exactly it is. Next is the extraoral examination. So now in extraoral examination, what you're going to do is first is soft tissue examination. In soft tissue, what you're going to see, again, you're going to see if there are any bleeding points from the laceration or the penetration of the foreign object. So first you're going to see this bleeding, and if that bleeding is severe, then you're going to control it at that point only. So the next is you're going to see for the orbital and periorbital injuries. Now, as we have seen in like lefort 2 and 3, there is periorbital edema. So these things can help you, like it becomes easier to detect what exactly the problem is, what exactly the trauma, or where exactly the trauma has caused to. So the next is the orbital and the periorbital injuries, and it may like manifest as a subconjunctival hemorrhage. So this is the next point. The next is he's going to see the external auditory meatus. So the TMJ injuries or the middle cranial fossa, they may manifest as bleeding from this extra auditory meatus. So you can like easily think, if you know what exactly the signs and symptoms are, what are the clinical features of that particular trauma, then you can easily like detect what the case is. The next is CSF rhinorrhea. So we have seen about the CSF rhinorrhea and lefort only itself. There is CSF rhinorrhea. You're going to check the blood, so the nose. So there is the CSF. So leakage of the CSF through this nose, it can like detect that there is case of lefort 3 or 2. Then tissue discoloration. Then you're going to see the tissue discoloration. So if there is ecchymosis which is present behind the ear, so that is known as battle sign. So we have already seen battle sign is seen in lefort 3. So it is indicative that there is basilar skull fracture which has involved the medial cranial fossa. If there is bilateral periorbital ecchymosis, that is the raccoon eyes, so it is commonly seen in the fracture of your base of the anterior cranial fossa, that is seen in the lefort 2 and 3. So this is like how you're going to detect the case exactly what it is. The next is the tissue discoloration you have seen. Then there can be subcutaneous emphysema. So these all are the soft tissue examination. The next is this neurological examination. Now in neurological examination, you are going to examine all these nerves. So the first is the facial nerve. So the function of this nerve, it can be easily evaluated if the patient is conscious. So you're just going to ask the patient to use the muscles of facial expression. But if the patient is unconscious, then you're going to use nerve stimulators. But this evaluation of this facial nerve, it should be completed and noted prior to the indication of prior to the administration of the local anesthesia. The next is the infraorbital nerve. So in case of fracture of zygomatico-maxillary complex or lefort 2 fracture, you know the orbital rim is fractured. And we have seen in lefort 2 that the fracture line, it runs from the infraorbital foramen or it is medial to it. So if it is through the infraorbital foramen, so it would have injured the infraorbital nerve too. And because of that, you have seen there is paresthesia of cheek. So there are these relating problems which you will see if the nerve are also injured. The next is olfactory nerve. So this is the injury to this nerve. It results from the fracture of the midface that involves the cribriform plate of ethmoid, and that is nothing but your lefort 3. So the next is the oculomotor nerve. In olfactory, if the olfactory nerve it is injured, so the problem you'll see is there is anosmia. So anosmia is nothing but the patient, he cannot smell properly. So there is this lackness of smelling, the smelling function, it is hampered in that case. The next is the oculomotor. Oculomotor, if there is presence of dilated pupil, it indicates that the oculomotor nerve damage has occurred. Then there is abducent nerve. So abducent nerve, it is the injury to the abducent nerve. It results in the lateral rectus muscle dysfunction. Next is the optic nerve. So injury to this nerve, it results from the fracture which is surrounding the optic foramen. This can be lefort 3. But we have seen it like rarely involve the optic foramen, because this optic foramen, it is surrounded by very dense bones and it is very difficult to fracture that bone. But for example, if the optic nerve is injured, so it may result from the compression of the bone and there is problem related to this patients. So these are the neurological. The next is the skeletal examination. So in this, the zygoma and the maxilla, they are assessed. So in this, the bleeding spots in the maxillary buccal fold, and if there is class 3 malocclusion, then it indicates there is a maxillary fracture. Now we have seen all the clinical features for the maxillary fractures itself, so you know how exactly they are. So if there is any problem related to it, then this skeletal examination can help us to detect what exactly the fracture is. Then if we are doing the bimanual palpation of the maxilla, so this bimanual palpation of the maxilla, it involves placing of the one hand on the forehead. So you're placing one hand on the forehead, which stabilizes the head, and the other hand, it is used for manipulating the maxilla to check its mobility. And we have seen in lefort 1, if we are like moving the maxilla, it is known as floating maxilla, because your maxilla, it is completely detached from the upper structures, and there will be mobility of the maxilla. So this is the bimanual palpation of the maxilla. So there can be, so next is the palpating the frontonasal suture. So now in lefort 3 we have seen, in lefort 2, so in lefort 3 we have seen there is the fracture line, it starts from the frontonasal suture. So you're palpating the frontonasal suture in that case. So the next is the infraorbital rims, it is palpated. So the infraorbital rim, it is palpated for the presence of step deformity, which can indicate there can be lefort 2 injury fracture. So this can help you to detect which type of lefort it is. The next is the naso-orbital ethmoidal complex fracture. So if you have seen, so now we have seen in lefort 3, the fracture line, it involves all the nasal, orbital and ethmoidal bone, and it helps us to detect if it is a lefort 3 fracture. Then you are going to see the nose for the evaluation of the hemorrhage, CSF rhinorrhea. Then all these are the signs which you're going to see. Then you're going to like examine the nasoorbital ethmoidal complex. Then all these are the skeletal examination which helps us to detect which type of trauma it is. And after that, you're going to do the imaging of the maxillofacial injuries. So you can do OPGs, Waters view, then cephalometric views, then your max. So you can do CT scan. So these all are the ways in which you can examine the patient and you can detect which type of trauma it is. So this is nothing but the preliminary examination of the trauma patients. And now this was it of this video. The most important question that can be asked in this is the Glasgow Coma scale, and you need to write about it. So you don't have to write about the examination, but you have to write about the emergency treatment when you're starting off your answers. If a question it comes on trauma, so you have to write the management of it. So in that you even have to include about the emergency management, like in short, but you have to include it. So this was all about this video. Now in the next video of it, I'm going to talk about the ABCs, like how it is important in the management of the trauma patient. So this was it. Thank you so much.